Patch 12.15 is upon us with some nerfs, some buffs, and some other changes too. So let's have a look at them all. Starting with nerfs, we have Gwen who's losing some of the true damage on her Q. This will get rid of a small chunk of her damage in her combos, but will have more of an effect later in the game when champions have got more magic resist. We also have Kalista losing 3 attack damage. It's not a huge change, but will slightly bring down her early game pressure. Next we have Master Yi, who's getting one of the smaller nerfs. His true damage on E will now have a longer cooldown after the first rank, making him slightly worse in those extended fights that he usually enjoys. Also, Qiyana is receiving a small nerf to the scaling of her passive. This won't be a huge change early, but will probably be felt a little bit as the game goes on. She's also getting a bug fix with First Strike. Next we have the much needed Sivir nerf. She's losing a small amount of AD scaling, along with getting longer cooldowns on her spell shield and ultimate. Not being able to get multiple uses of the spell shield in an extended fight, and having to be more careful using ult may well bring her back in line with other carries. And the final nerf is for Talia. The cooldown on her E is being increased by 2 seconds at all ranks, and the wall will now only last for 4 seconds. Both of these are simply reducing her ability to control areas of the map, making scary zones for you to enter. With buffs, we have some quality of life changes for Akali. Energy users this patch are getting some help, and Akali's comes in the form of getting additional energy from using her W, which will help her in longer fights. Next is Kennen, who's getting increased damage and lower cooldowns early on his W. This will make him more mobile and threatening, and his ultimate is receiving slightly more AP scaling to help him with the late game. Lee Sin is getting a huge quality of life improvement, making his Q, W, and E all go from 30 energy to 25. This will make most Lee Sins not have to worry about energy. Next we have Leona. Her Q is cheaper to use and her ultimate will stun for longer. These are some very nice changes for her, and the increased stun will help her do everything she wants to do. Next we have Lilia, who has a small change of her passive doing more damage to jungle creeps. This will make her slightly more viable, taking jungle camps faster. Next up we have Rammus, who's getting some very nice changes to his ultimate. The cooldown early game is being buffed, with late game being slightly increased, but you'll now be able to dash even further with it, allowing for easier engages and easier time jumping onto their backline. Next we have Shen, who will be getting additional energy when dealing damage with his passive or E. It's a small change, but very welcome for Shen players. Next we have some Singed buffs. The movement speed from his passive is increasing, and he gets a larger steroid in his ultimate. Both of these allow Singed to be singed, running around a fight obnoxiously. Next up we have Thresh, who's getting more damage and a lower cooldown on his Q. This is quite a nice change and will give him a good amount extra kill pressure. And finally for buffs we have Zed with some quality of life changes. The W's mimic range is now unlimited, and the E costs less mana. The E especially is a solid change and makes spamming it more viable. We also have some changes to items, starting with Divine Sunderer. With this, they're decreasing the healing the item provides. While this isn't a massive change, it may make some champions consider Triforce as an option, but we'll see if this is enough to bring it back in line with other choices. Next we have Mercurial Scimitar, which is getting additional magic resist and making the QSS component have a longer active duration. We also have Silvermere Dawn, which is getting a small magic resist buff and a good chunk of extra tenacity and slow resist. You normally buy these items when you absolutely have to, and it will make these games feel a little bit better. We also have a nerf to First Strike, where the damage is going from 10% to 9%. This may not sound like a lot, but less damage means less money, which means champions may go for other runes instead. Finally, Ultimate Spellbook is staying around. Riot points will cost more soon. We've got a good few more bug fixes, and we have new skins for Lulu, Vigar, and Cockmore.